And we are in. I'll be going second in our first game today, which is going to be in the Collins International Lexicon. Just make sure we are all set up here with the drawing tool, as always. And yeah, first move here is going to be something like playing off Jiao or something very similar somewhere. Depending on the state of the board, of course. We'll want to get rid of some of the clunkier consonants as soon as we can, as well as undouble the O. And there may be a couple of options for doing so, but that will depend entirely on what goes down on the board first. So we'll just wait for that to happen and see what we can do in response. Heine, okay. I think we'll probably just stick to the plan that we have already. There is a very natural place for that. If it weren't for the W, there would have been some other options perhaps, but I think this is fairly clear as to play that we're going to prefer. Notice that A's and O's are going to go above this location here. And that's something that we may have to keep in mind. Don't really think we're close to anything that is bingo worthy just yet, but we'll just have to see how the board evolves. Currently looking at something like this with a DO start, for instance. Although we should also not neglect looking through this location here. Currently, though, because there aren't really that many places to expand on the board, it's likely we'll just have to react to something else that goes down around here, unless, of course, we have a big play coming down this way. But we'll see how that goes. Currently, the board is not really that conducive to some kind of scoring play in response, although, of course, this is going to be a very natural place for either player to be going, just given the number of vowels that fit under WE. So yeah, we'll just wait to move. Yep, as expected, that's going to be taken fairly quickly. And we may just play through that somehow. That would leave me with quite a few vowels. So normally if we were not so heavy on vowels, we could just play some consonants through here. But I don't think any single tile here is going to go in front of AWE, so... Also, my opponent tells me that yeah, currently I think maybe the way to go is just to continue playing to the right. Something like that, unless we want to go down here just to open up a bit more space. Yeah, I think I would like to do that. I could have put the D in front of this as well, but I think this should be fine. Yeah, currently the double T is a bit of an annoyance. From the consonant vowel balance that I had going out of the previous rack. Yeah, I think because I kept 4 consonants, I should have, in fact, put the D up front here. I think that would have been a much smarter move. It would have obstructed any possibilities for a lane going down this way, but I was not really set to take advantage of that anyway. So, We'll see how it goes. Yeah, currently priority should just be to get rid of a bunch of these consonants if we can. And it's unclear how that's going to happen, but we'll just try to react to whatever's going down on the other side and maybe take it from there. If I played OOM on top, of course you'd have a bit more flexibility to play out of that, given the things that could hook on top of OY. Yo currently is a little bit restrictive because of the lack of things that will go on top. But I was deliberately trying to expand towards this corner over here. But yeah, looking at this, maybe I was thinking of some other spelling. I don't know. It looks okay. I'm just thinking about how you would describe somebody's hiney and what alternatives there could be. Oh yeah, just waiting for the play to come down. Currently a bit of a long turn on the other side, but... Okay, that may actually solve some things here. First thing I should be looking at is whether there is going to be something like an 8-letter play through the I. But once again, I think the double T is a bit of a problem here. And yeah, because suppose we don't have the D, you would have something like citrate, but Cattier. I'm just trying to think of something that would in fact end with that additional D. And I want to say like something like atretic, but none of that is going to do anything for me here. However, we could go like this and just go for a 2x2 like that. And as you can see, that gets me into a decent place. The next thing we have to look for, of course, is something we can do with my current rack. I don't see any 7s. There could be an 8 through the A. Let me just think about this. And okay, we're going to draw 5 points there out of a challenge. Diatrons is not going to fit. So the question is whether Diatron would have taken an S to equate to something else, and I don't see it yet. Yeah, not really seeing very many options. Could be... We definitely need a vowel to play through, I think. There isn't going to be much else that this will work with. I actually don't know if dinitro takes an S. That's something that we should keep in mind. So unless diatrons is equal to something else, so for example, something that ends with IST or something else that will fit in that spot, we may have to give up on this rack. And that's assuming that there isn't something like a 7-letter play here, but I don't think there is. So the D spot over here, the consonant spot over to E, has some potential. Maybe for something like an OND ending. But I don't see what that would be. It is something that's likely to be taken if I don't do anything with it first. Then there's also this spot over here. Yeah, we could also just play 2 out of that. I think Todd is okay. I don't remember if it actually takes an other tile in front, which is going to be the relevant question here. Also, maybe something over here. Yeah, we can't spend too much time on this, unfortunately. Taking way too long on this turn already. Let's see here. Yeah, I might just have to go like this. That's almost certainly just a bad play. Okay, so here we've got something we could potentially do. Something like Sequin, for instance. Dump the Q on that spot. That would probably be one of the better things we can go for. Don't actually remember if this is with the R as well. That's just the French word for a shark, and sometimes some of those shark words actually are good. I think it is, actually, but because if we can keep the S and just spend the blank by itself, then that's probably best. Can't really find anything starting with the U for like a UQ start over here, unfortunately. So right now, this is probably to play. Unless I can find something better. Failing that, we'll probably just pop off the QI somewhere. Unless there is something that is a 7 that we can also use to tag the S along one of the locations available. There is, of course, the S hook going here. But other than that... Okay, that's fine. We can just do this, and I think that's going to be a fine use of the blank, given that this scores 72, pretty much equivalent to a bingo here. Alright, let's take a look at the LY ending on this rack right away, just to see if that's going to give me anything. Yeah, failing that, could also be something like the LOGY ending. But then the priority, if we can't do anything with that, would just be to get rid of the things like the G and the Y as soon as we can, just to get things out of the way. So, we'll see if anything can happen there. Interestingly enough, when I played Todd up here, it did also counter anything that could have gone up here, although that would not have been a spot for the X. So, yeah, let's just see here whether anything presents itself. And yeah, there's also, I guess, the LESS ending. It's not going to do anything on this rack, though. Yeah, don't know yet what we're going to do with that, but maybe even just play off to G and Y around a U in the Reka, or however one would pronounce it in English. Yeah, opponent's running pretty low on time. I kind of wonder what we're dealing with on that side as well. Frap, okay. First thing we should look at is whether or not we have something that is going to work well with the R. Because you never know. I mean, it could also just allow us to do something to deal with our uglier tiles in the short term. Yeah, kind of tempting to just play off here as well, if we can. Other thing we could look at is this position down here. Okay, this is just going to be sallied. We don't have a place for it, though. And so I will probably see if we can do anything. I don't know, Dahliers is good. Dahliers going through here. But that's something we would be looking at as well. I don't know. That doesn't look right. And I don't know if I would try it, even though we are slightly ahead. So one thing we would be looking for is whether this rack would, for example, take an additional E in it, or do something like go through one of these tiles on the right side. But currently, that's sort of unclear. Yeah, Sallied and Dallies, rather, are both within the realm of possibility here. I just don't see much else we can do. And none of those are going to fit on the current board. So, yeah, we'll just see what happens. Might just have to do some small play to make a tiny adjustment. I think we have... Oh, dialers might be good. Yes, dialers with 2L, I don't know. There's dialers with 1L, definitely. Dialers with 2 Ls. I think I want to try it. Because... I don't remember if dialer is an anagram of rallied, but it's also one of those things that may be possible in Collins as well, in a way that it wouldn't be in NWL, so... I would rather try dialers than dahliers, that's for sure. So that looks like the best possible spot right now. And that's something I'm actually fairly confident about trying. Even though it leaves the A in a bit of a vulnerable spot underneath the triple hotspot that we see over here. So we'll see if anything happens with that. And Failing that, in terms of the backup plan, well, the backup plan is just going to have to depend on what my opponent is doing, I think. But it will probably just be a play like Dal up in the top right. Now, worst case is if there's some play like this that somehow kills the S-hook. But in terms of a staying on pace play, Dal taking up the top right is not too bad. Definitely a lot worse that can happen on this board. So yeah, we'll definitely see if there's anything we can do. Yeah, very low on time on my opponent's side, so we'll see what's going on. Sometimes with online play, you are playing against somebody who's in a situation where they might have some issues locally off the board. Let's try dialers. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of things with this rack. Ebonize, which will go with the S for Ebonizes. And yes, dialers is good. Also notice that if a bingo spot gets killed, I actually do have the potential for a Z parallel play up here, maybe. Probably worst case, just ZE or something for 64. But yeah, was definitely unsure about that for a moment. In terms of what else I could do, in terms of Ebonize, we have Ebonize to the S, we have, for example, Bronzier. I don't think it's going to be Bonzier, I think it's only Bonzer. So that's not really going to be one of our choices here. So Ebonize is available. I should look at this to see if maybe there's some way to string something to a Z in the hotspot. But likely it will just be ZE up there if we don't manage to get Ebonize down. Vagi is up there. The other thing, okay, so Ebonize is going to do this and be 86 points. It might actually be smarter to take the Z hotspot and then save the blank, given that... I mean, this is a nice play, but it does dangle the triple on the left, as well as an E hotspot. So you got 86 there, you've got 64 here. It's really not that much worse. So do I sacrifice 22 points to save up for a bingo? I actually kind of like that idea, given how open the board is for additional bingos. And yeah, we're going to be in a great place here. We've got baronies, tabarins, all kinds of things. Probably some other things beyond that. On the previous turn, in fact, I should have looked a little bit more carefully at the V spot here. I do wonder if we have anything that will go there with the V now. But yeah, we have a couple of things that we can play through here. Baronies is probably going to be the preferred play. I should look at anything over here. Also, the ING ending is available. Always something worth looking at. So yeah, didn't realize I actually had my microphone off for a big portion of that just now. I was looking at a couple of things here. So yeah, let's see what we can do here. Like I said, I was kind of looking at dope here originally. That's not going to really go. I don't think we have anything much better to work with here. You know, just dab up here. 26. I mean, we just need a seal to win at this point. It's not going to be really too tough. There's Dote over here. That's 20. Definitely thinking ahead to whether we can have an out in 2 sequence, but with this kind of rack, not really something I'm counting on. Sabated, like that. That's probably the best way to just get rid of stuff. Yeah, I don't know if there was much else we could do. Roar over here is going to fill in for 8 points. That's likely going to be the outplay, unless I see anything much more attractive. We have a whole bunch of things that are just going to be single-digit plays to close things out, but that's all we really need to do for game 1. Oh, didn't really mean to push her over the clock like that, for the time penalty, but... How did I not look at... So yeah, we have 2 phonies on the board here. This is no good. This is no good. I didn't even look at Puta's... I think because I wanted to make sure I grabbed the spot. Yeah, because those are scenarios where you're just confirming to pass on the last turn. It really should have given a clock a pause or something, but it's this sort of thing with over-the-board time control rules that doesn't quite translate to online play. So, yeah, just was one of those circumstances where I'm still thinking in double challenge mode, I think, where, you know, you just don't think about challenging because you prioritize grabbing the spot right away. And if I looked at it carefully, I probably would have seen that was no good, because what was that? Puta's 39 points. So yeah, let's just go through this quickly, since we probably have some time before the next round, and we can see what we missed. I wonder what this is supposed to be, because maybe it's just without the E. No, it's not. Yeah, we just closed out game 1 with 2 phonies on the board in Collins. Also managed to draw a couple of challenges on my end here, but this was just an extremely fortunate game. I landed a Q in this spot, I landed a Z in this spot, and there was an interesting moment earlier where I deliberately passed on a bingo, which I think ended up paying off quite well. So we'll take a look quickly, and you can see tactics despite being late to the party, what went on. So let's just see if we can walk through the game before anything in particular is going to show up for the next round. I'll just keep an eye on that in case pairings come up. So yeah, difficult rack to start with. You can see I would probably have gone for something like Viney, even if it closes off like crazy at the very start. Yeah, there's Envy, but I think Viney is definitely the play. Keep EHH rather than IHH. Vaney. Oh yeah, Vaney, of course. And HH is actually not too bad if you're going to keep consonants, just given how flexible they are if you draw any vowels at all. So it's funny because Vaney would have been so much better anyway than Heine to begin with. But anyway, we're going to leave the phony unchallenged. This is an obvious play, I think. The placement is mostly just going to affect which lane you want to leave open. Given the vowels I had, I like doing the top position. Opponent's turn here. Yeah, she was going to take it. Too bad there wasn't a good way to get rid of the V. As you can see, you have to go quite a ways down before there is any kind of V play. Nothing left over with a leftover taco? Yeah, exactly. As long as you don't keep it in your coat. Yeah, this turn I was thinking... I looked at it afterwards and I realized I should have played Doom. What I did was play here, and we have a bit of a clunky consonant-heavy leave. And so I should have placed a D in front, but the thing I did here was I initially just looked at up here and just moved it to the bottom without thinking about the adjustment that I could make to make Doom. Luckily, that was not our Doom. Yeah, really having a lot of V trouble, as you can see on the other side of the board. Just no good way to get rid of it without burning the S. And so, in the end, yeah, going for evil there. No way to get rid of the V and a U, I should say, without something really risky like that. And I would not have been sure about HOH taking the S anyway, but knowing some of that in terms of the S hooks on 3s in Collins is something I still have a bit of trouble getting straight. Ah, okay, didn't see it. Tetracid, tetratic. We should check these in terms of lexicon. I really wouldn't be too suspicious, though. They do look like they're good in both. There are 4 in NWO, are there really? Oh, okay, I was wondering about Citrated, because I did see Citrated, and I wasn't sure about the D, but it wasn't fitting anyway, so I didn't spend too long looking at that. 3 in both lexicons, by the looks of it. Yeah, because I did see Citrated, but I don't think I've actually studied that as a set. You played Dictator with this rack, and that... Okay, so that's how you would know. Yeah, I definitely would have challenged that. Misdetract. Okay. Yeah, I just didn't look carefully enough, I think, because I thought I was swimming in consonants. Detract is something I absolutely should have seen. It's kind of surprising I didn't. But I just went for atretic here, and it did end up drawing a 5-point challenge from the other side. Yeah, look at the U situation on my opponent's side. Not really the best place to be in. Fair rule would have been pretty nice, keeping US. Refuse, refuel. Yeah, actually a lot of these are pretty good. I mean, you're not really going to have too many ways to get rid of both U's. She does kind of prioritize that. You can see Rueful dumping the S actually does evaluate rather well. Not as well as taking the points, of course, but... if you're prioritizing dumping the U's, that's not a bad way to do it. Okay, missed it again. I looked at Diatrons. I saw Diatrons didn't fit, and I forgot this set, despite having looked at it before. Obviously, Intrados. I think it actually pairs with Extrados. Extrados. Not exactly sure. I think it might be Spanish. Or French. Entredos? Extrados. Okay. Yeah, so neither of them dropped the S, and so I was looking and thinking that there was something as an 8 that goes with Diatrons, and I just didn't remember it. I think that's all there is in there, though. Yeah. I looked at that set before a long time ago, and so... yeah, just doing a small plate over here. Todd. I was trying to think about the front hooks on it. And yeah, because I thought I had seen the S hook on it before. I actually forgot that it was something Collins only, because I was actually decently confident in it generally. Yeah, there's going to be an X spot over here. Instead of taking it, though, it's going to be unsex with the S. Paxes would have been interesting, although the X gives back quite a bit on that spot. And yeah, so... actually, speaking of French words, I couldn't remember. I know this is like French for a shark, but I may or may not have seen it from time to time. Shalom Gabi, welcome. Yeah, Rickon, the man-eater or white shark. And it's just the general term for a shark in French. And I was pretty sure I had seen it before. But couldn't remember if I was also just mixing it up with something like a rorqual or one of those other RQ words that have to do with undersea creatures. Yeah, obviously that's preferred over sequin, so we can keep the S for future purposes. This is where the game really begins to turn in my favor, because we got the really good Q play here and a big Z play soon after that. It's going to be Frap up here. Keeps forgetting about stuff like YGO. I was trying to get rid of the G and the Y. I considered just doing GY here, in fact. But in the end, I just went for Fogey, given that I have the S to tag on. Obviously, this is a bit of a risk, but thought I could just give away that. So I just didn't even look at challenging this because I was too busy staring at this spot here. and thinking in double challenge mode and thinking, okay, you know what, we'll just jump on it while I have the chance. So I honestly didn't really even look at this play properly. So yeah, because I saw dialers here, I wasn't sure about dahlias. I saw dahlias first, and I thought, okay, no, dialers is something I'm more confident in, despite the risk of the hotspot over the A. The hotspot over the A ends up paying off for me almost immediately. So that was definitely probably more volatile than it should have been, though. Under sensible circumstances, if I knew dahlias for sure, I think I'd definitely go for it. Pairings are coming up for the next round soon, so I just want to go ahead and show you. So this is the turn where I picked ZE over Ebenizes. Because I was looking at Ebenizes or Ebenized over one of these spots. I actually looked at it with this spot first, and I thought, okay, no, we'll play off the Z first. Because I'm so likely to draw into a bingo with so many lanes open anyway. And as you can see from the evaluation, that's actually better than every bingo by 3 points. So I'm kind of proud of myself for being able to see that. Miss over here on my opponent's side. I'll just speed through this because we... Oh, missed this. Bravoing, look at this. And Brainbox. 158, 101. Yeah, we didn't see anything like that. Anyway, I'll just speed through because now that we know what we missed. Also missed a Battuned here, but I don't think I knew Battuned. Which is also in Collins, so... So yeah, too bad about the triples I missed. I did look at the V, and I just didn't see that combination of letters that would give you bravoing. But yeah, that game was kind of stacked in my favor just because of the Q situation and the Z situation, so this would have just been insult to injury if we'd had like a 158-point bravoing there. But anyway, let's move on. And didn't even think about Brainbox. I think Brainbox is probably good in both, but I'm not totally confident. No, it is only in Collins. Only in Collins can you be that clever. Bravoing I've definitely seen before, though. I'm reasonably confident it's in both. So we'll just keep that in mind, taking it into this game here, Game 2 in NWL. And yeah, way too vowel heavy earlier. Likely just going to play off a GIE or PIE or something. Unless we have some way to play something off like that. I don't know, it doesn't actually score that well. Epee somewhere maybe good, but we don't want to keep GII. That looks absolutely terrible. We're both very vowel heavy, in fact, as you can see, so... Given that, I think it's probably safe to do this and not get hit too hard with a consonant. Up top, probably safer to do this, though. Okay, let's see what we can do here. Probably just want to make one more adjustment play to... Unless we have an R for deprives, let's make sure we keep that in mind. Bravo is also a last name in Spanish. That means courageous or angry. Yeah, we've seen that before, for sure. So if we have the possibility of deprives, we'll certainly take it. If not, we'll probably just play off something that will allow me to get rid of the V, even if it is just something like give, which would of course create an O hook up top for ogive. Of course, with 2 O's down already, who knows? So, no possibility of deprivation just yet. Given that, I think this is actually going to be fine. Just make small adjustments here until we get something better to work with. Just going to look at this carefully to see that we don't have something much better. So this is going to be, I want to say plussed is probably good. You can be nonplussed, you can certainly be plussed. I don't think you can be plushed, because you can just be plush, not plushed. I don't think so. But this is the P hook we would be looking for. Also possibility of SP as a start, if we want to do something with that. Puddles is good. And this is probably better. Puddles up here for 81. We don't want to dangle the S on the bottom lane, and doesn't score as well anyway. We'll just hope that the Q doesn't come down here. Okay, as usual, we're going to look at LY before anything else. But yeah, I don't know with that doubled L here, if that's going to do anything for me. Of course, you have the possibility of ing as well, if it's something like a lollying. We might actually be able to do that with a 3L bingo through here, lollying. If that remains open. Given these consonants, 3 consonants in a row here, yeah, I thought that would actually be likely to stay. This is going to be a risky spot, so I should look at it first before we commit to something. We don't quite have something like yellowing, unfortunately. So we can go for lollying. I'm a little paranoid about this, but we're not really ahead right now, so I might as well just take the bingo while it's available. In terms of placements, yeah, that's probably going to be best. I don't know if there was something better. Q is not going to be... Oh, Q is going to be in a great shape here, actually. That's exactly what we want. Probably query or query, actually, just to get rid of the Y. That's almost certainly going to be best. Yeah, texted. I feel like we dodged a bullet there with the X. This would, of course, keep the S hook up front, but has a terrible leave. We're doing this for sure. Wait, let's look at this carefully, in case there is anything, like, given that we have QU here, let's make sure I'm not missing anything. I don't think so. But sometimes you have like QUY endings and QUAY. Nah. Feels like we actually are close to something here. Despite the AAA, that I think there are definitely 8s that go with this. Very nice end thrown here. We have the S to tag on it if we want to do something. The S would give me a plus 24, so we should definitely consider doing that. But of course, let's see if this is going to do anything for me. Might even just go AAS, to be honest. That's 30 points. It's honestly not terrible. Yeah, 30 points for AAS when one of the 2 remaining Ds or 1 remaining S's could go there. Serious consideration. I'm just seeing if we have anything else that would present itself here. Like maybe a bigger play even. No, I think we're doing it. 30 points, let's do it. The doubled I here is a bit of a problem. I feel like this is actually close to something as well, though. Also notice the ID ending here that could, in fact, turn out to be something. Oh, very nice parallel with Baved. I have to remember if Chai is good in NWL. I feel like it must be, but I know that I think a CHA, that is also a T word that doesn't go, but Chai is common enough that I think we definitely do it. Okay, here's Aneroid. Aneroid is not going to go anywhere. Notice that this lane is still technically kind of open. Let's take a look. Aneroid might actually go here. Aneroid... no, TAI, no good. Although, interestingly enough, we could have stuff like Android or Aneroid go down here, depending on whether we want to keep E or D. 12 vowels, 19 consonants, we'd probably just keep D. Keep E, rather. And so that's about 30 points, thanks to the Q. And so if we don't have a spot for Aneroid, that's actually a very strong possibility. So we'll take a look at that. See if anything will work with that. Because I think Aneroid plus D, I don't think that's going to give me anything else with that ID ending. Android or Aneroid? Let's go Android. Just looking to make sure we're not missing... no. This doesn't go either. This spot is still pretty risky, actually, if you look at it. That's probably the best comeback opportunity for my opponent. I say comeback even though I'm only ahead by 5 points. This is actually a very close game so far. Yeah, because I could make a fishy play and go for a bingo, but I think given the current state of the board, I'd rather close up, keep things under control, keep the E for the hook down here. And as you can see, that's going to play pretty well in that we would be looking at stuff like Jibe for the next turn. Unless that gets taken first. So, also Jibe would... not Jibe, but maybe something else would fit here. But definitely we have a couple of possibilities for plays like Jibe. Obviously, first pick should be down here, but there are multiple places we can work with. So yeah. Given consonant vowel balance, I think keeping E there was the right idea. Okay, that's fine. Looks like my opponent is also... Well, first of all, just going for the scoring plays, but also just being a bit cautious about that. I think lower position is going to be better for this, rather than the top position. It's harder to play anything 2 to J, unless you have, yeah, because there's no H for Baji or anything. Just looking at this very carefully to make sure we know what we're doing. 34 points, I like it. And yeah, it will work out pretty well. This it's not exactly a lane, but it's definitely something that might have some endgame potential if we have the right tiles. So for example, if we're keeping R, we can in fact string something through here near the end. We no longer have the E for this spot here, which I should have kept in mind, but I think the priority was definitely to just score with the J as soon as we were able. Yeah, and other than that, we're ahead by a decent amount. We just needed to consider what the major risks are going to be. I think this is going to be a pretty hot scoring spot. This is not technically totally closed off, these 8 spots here, although it would be difficult, of course, to find a good fitting ending. Not even that difficult. I mean, all kinds of stuff goes there. There is one S remaining, so we don't want to just open up a potential S spot. Or in that case, an E spot, without having a clear idea of what we're doing. Okay, let's see here. Probably just calf. Take the 30. I doubt we'll find anything much better than that. 4 in the bag. Now we have 2 in the bag, and now we have something. This is definitely something. Not necessarily something that will fit, but I have a strong sense there is, in fact, a 7 in there. I don't think it's something like motors, but it's one of those racks that I've seen, I'm pretty sure. And it's nice that we're far ahead enough that I don't feel like I need... Oh, Omertas. I don't need the bingo, but we have Omertas if... it doesn't fit here, though. TAA, no. But if something opens up, which at this point it won't, like I think we needed to take the spot or just give up on the idea of having anything. I don't remember if there's anything in Omertas other than that. But pretty much the only possibility is if, say, there's a one-tile fish somewhere that gives us a lane, but I really doubt that's going to happen. Like, unless we're just given a spot. My opponent does know at this point that he needs a bingo-sized play to come back, though. And so, if he sees something in the pool that he wants to go for, it's possible something will open, but as you can see, it's fairly well defended right now from any additional lanes that are going to come out. In the meantime, we'll be looking at some other stuff like this. Probably, you know, plays like Tame. I think that's likely what is going to happen here. But yeah, I'm in a good spot. I feel like we're definitely in good shape to take the win here. But we'll see about that. So yeah, after the games that we play today, there is that impromptu Wookles tournament with rapid times, with 7-minute times that is coming later at 7:30 Pacific, 10:30 Eastern, I believe. I was considering whether it would be possible to just extend the stream long enough to cover that as well, but I might not be able to since it did come at rather short notice. Because if I had planned around that a little further ahead, it might have been possible, so. But we'll see how long the club games run today. Sometimes it's a short stream if the games are quick. Because, yeah, we'd finish usually about an hour ahead of when the rapid tournament is going to start, and so. We'll see. I mean, definitely going to be some other people doing some streaming coverage of that, if that's unavailable on our end. Lots going on, in fact. There's also going to be the blindfold event that's going on in Xer Typo's stream later today, and we'll probably drop by there. But in a moment, oh, that's an interesting play. It doesn't open up anything, but it leaves one in the bag. So I saw Omerta's. I don't remember if Omerta's comes as a set with something. Maestro, but that also doesn't fit. It almost fits. Look at that. Because if it weren't for the D in texted, you know, the O hook on both of these doesn't look like the most bingo-worthy thing until you start seeing stuff that would theoretically fit there. So it's really too bad. We're just barely off something like Maestro. Also know that KO is still available up here. I think we just seal the win at this point. Just going to go tame up here. We're going to draw 1. And I don't see anything my opponent is going to draw because he needs the O to do something off the K. And the closing off this spot will force some kind of ending with an S. I think this wins it. And yeah, we draw A. We definitely have this. And yeah, in terms of outs, we have Soar up here for 12. We have... what else? Clues down here. Yeah, he knows at this point that this is done. I'm just making sure we take a look at this properly. And, oh yeah, there's going to be ores up here, 15. I think that's probably going to be best, though. So yeah, we found both of the NWL words. Amorettes would actually fit. That's fantastic. Lollying is also a phony. So we got away with that one here in Double Challenge. I actually didn't question that very much. I guess it would just be lolling. Yeah, because my opponent didn't really think about it either, from what he's telling me. Oh, also, yeah, I totally forgot to have my notes screen up that entire game. But I actually was keeping notes the whole time on the side in terms of plays I was seeing. Not much to look at there, of course. I was just typing things out that I was also talking about at the same time, like lollying and the Omerta's Maestro set. But yeah, that would have been a good one to know. Amorettes fitting in here. very neatly. And yeah, because from my opponent's perspective, I guess he was fishing for couples, but yeah, very difficult for him to get a win in that position, I think. So we got away with this one. That's fine. We've had phonies all over the boards today, so let's just take a look at the analysis screen if I do in fact have some time. Oh, over this. Okay, ice. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, because I was seeing the R here and I totally forgot that the C would also fit here. So that really could have been a problem for me if I wasn't being careful, because the S would actually still be safe against having put tame over top of everything else. But luckily we knew that the last tile in the bag was A. So anyway, let's take a look at this carefully. So yeah, very vowel heavy starts for both of us up top. Uzo is going to go down first. Very clearly, I think. I mean, you can move it around all you want, but yeah, let's see here. I was pretty much only looking at stuff like PIE, GIE. I guess I found a very low scoring spot, but I wasn't really even thinking about score that turn. I just wanted to move pieces around, really. Yeah, this looks like it has something here, but no sevens. So either of these would have been pretty good, actually. And he goes for M, keeping EENOR, which I think is a little bit vowel heavy. Because Amen, yeah, I guess that would open up the hotspot. And maybe he was reluctant to do anything like that. I think positionally speaking, Nema would have been just fine. My turn here, I don't think I knew Vespid. Let me take a look at that. A social wasp. And it is actually something that takes an S, Vespids. Oh, a good one to know if you're ever in that situation. The only thing I was looking at with this rack was just deprive if it showed up, but we can check that actually. Whether there would have been something else. Yeah, deprives and provides, either way, you would need the R. I think it's actually previs, like a pre-visualization. I think that's what it is. Provise? No, it is just provise. I just don't know that word. Okay, this was just going to be a miss. And I really think, yeah, no, that's just a miss on my opponent's side. He's going to play Nori instead. Surprisingly hard one to see. Onirier and its equivalent Oniriest. Oniriest. That's what it is. Yeah. So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff we can do. I didn't think about AMU. I was thinking entirely about AMP. Not that I would have known something like Spudgel, which is kind of like a cudgel or only made of potatoes. It's a bucket attached to a long pole. Okay. Yeah, Drupals is a nice one. But yeah, once again, this was a situation where I was aware of the Q risk behind the U. Very slight chance of that, and I ended up benefiting from it, so. This rack here, refixed, FedEx. And fringe over here, yeah. Risky, but I can see how maybe there was something going on here with, you know, keeping that in mind as an X spot if nothing goes down here. Very risky, but given the score, I mean, if you don't see refixed, which I think you definitely take, maybe not actually, given X here, the 52 point play actually gives a lot back, but this also gives a ton back, depending on where I play. It's actually kind of surprising that I don't end up taking either spot. So this was the play in which I tried lollying. Look at this, lonely. Because lonely is an adjective, so lonely is the adverb. Unless it's just a little flower that's sitting by itself, and that makes it a lone lily. But no, I think this is actually the adverb form of an adjective that just happens to end with ly. And it just looks very funny. Lopingly. And not like this, you don't. But yeah, I didn't think of questioning lollying at all. But anyway, didn't miss anything going down here like we did with bravoing last game, so I guess that's not too unacceptable. Texted, yeah, that's the play. Pretty clearly, in fact. Query, also definitely the play. Nah, I think that's unambiguous. Queasy scores better, but again, I think this is unambiguously best. And Throne, a nice find, despite the position. Naira's. I was looking for something like that, something that would get rid of a few more tiles, but as you can see, everything here evaluates quite well. That AAS here, is going to be less than 2 points from the top, equity-wise. Yeah, I guess the only issue with making a small play is that, as we discovered, it doesn't actually close off the lane. Because if you do that, then, well, I mean, lanes are still open. Currently, you still have 2 major lanes still on the board. As well as maybe stuff through here, but as we get into endgame, leaving the bottom open remains a definite risk that both players have their eyes on, so. Yeah, Bathed is going to just sit on top of that. I was definitely thinking about whether there were tiles we should have looked for 8s with this rack, but yeah, Chia and Chai are both fine. Kind of forgot about Chia, in fact. Rough draw from my opponent here, having GVWU all at once. Yeah, I think that's definitely fine. Although, since he's keeping the S with a play like Vug, Vug is not too bad if you think you're going to follow up on that before I can get a crack at it. Because then you actually have a good chance to score with the W on the next turn as well. Anyway, Android is in fact going to evaluate best here, so glad we found that. Forgot about Adenoid actually. I was just looking at Android Aneroid. Yeah, interesting spot here for revving, playing through 2 disconnected tiles. What does he go for? He goes for give here, yeah. At this point, I think we're both a little paranoid about a lane open on the left side. And this is also a play that's going to even things up quite a bit, score-wise, and so I can definitely see the case for it. Yeah, in terms of equity, it's kind of surprising that this is far down. I guess that's just because of the NNS leave as well. But yeah, I can definitely see why he'd be worried about something like a scoring play coming down here. Because I did have one. I had the jibe ready to go for 40-something. Yeah, Vine is nice because of the synergy between the N and the G. Because then you just get that undoubled. You also shut this off. I mean, the NG combination isn't too bad here. You get NG down here, for instance. And, yeah. Could be worse. Like, you're not necessarily going for bingo, but the synergy could help. Because, yeah, being able to play off jibe... Well, I was able to do that regardless, but... At this point, you know, it's close enough that it's definitely a bit of a race to just keep scoring with what's left, but drawing the J and drawing into such a nice consonant vowel balance is doing a ton of work for me here. But yeah, you can see with a rec like this just how much of a difference it would make for the N to be undoubled and to have something like NG. Even for small plays like Fog or something. Or... well, something else. I mean... yeah, this C idea, of course, I just totally missed when I was looking at it. And yeah, Caf is going to be to play. Not going to be too worried about K bingos coming down here. Yeah, because at this point I was thinking, okay, I just outscore, and I should be in good shape. Yeah, I totally forgot about the U hook here. And as you can see, nothing would have gone down. We did see both Omertas and Maestro. Yeah, there's clues, there's plues. I mean, at this point I'm playing out, so this stuff isn't going to make too much of a difference. So, what did I miss? 23. Yeah, if I'd looked at it more carefully, I probably should have seen that. Because I do remember this as a set. Oh, it didn't even look at the S hook here. But at this point, I think I was eager to just finish this off. So, not an optimal sequence. Always good to see, regardless what we're missing along the way. I don't think pairings are up for the next round yet. If there are some games that are still ongoing, we could perhaps take a peek. I also did, of course, just speed through the previous game that we looked at. So yeah, thank you for the GG. We're at 2 wins so far. Pretty good start today. The first one was a massive luck box of a win in some ways. This one, it was just a matter of the scoring plays pulling ahead at the end. I think the racks were definitely on my side, going towards the finish with the J landing for me and all that VWU nonsense landing on the other side of the board. Also just got away with some things once again in terms of my bingo vowel placement giving me a big play. As in the game before this one with the Z. But yeah, let me just take a look and see what we're dealing with. Okay, so we do have round 3 pairings coming right up, so we'll do that in just a moment. So this is going to be against an NWL opponent once again. And we'll just wait for a response. Might just be a moment before we get rolling, and this time I'll remember to actually put up the notepad. Yeah, it didn't have anything really critical on the notepad in the previous game though, apart from just writing down bingos we were potentially looking for. So yeah, we'll see if this comes up. Actually, I don't see my opponent here in the room anymore. Let me just yeah, might just be a moment while we wait for that to come up. There we go. There we go. I'll be going first. We have a pretty terrible start, but might just go something like this. Unless we have something much better. I don't think the placement is going to particularly matter. We can just do it like this. Leaves the hotspots open, but the C will prevent parallel from going straight over the middle. And so that's fine, because it means that if one hotspot got taken by parallel, we could have access to the other one. So with the C in the middle, I'm not worried about this kind of positioning with the vowels early on. And we have the B for this spot, but I want to see what else we can do. We don't really have anything that will go with the A, though. I think I do want to take that while it's available. Maybe something like brow, because we have the N to tag on that. If I can do something with the W, though, No, let's just go brow. And yeah, we're going to pick up the other W pretty much immediately. So, looking currently at anything we can do in either of these spots, the A gets in the way more than you would think. But, you know, you can have some stuff that doesn't score much. So yeah, currently the vowels that we have are not too conducive to anything, I would say. Go up here. So likely just going to be a small play. Also, the FL start is available here. So this is a potentially interesting idea. Just going flu for 30. In fact, I quite like that. Okay, nice bingo there with all of that coming down. Interestingly enough, you can see that he did not see the N hook on browse, or I'm sure he would have gone for cussing in this position instead to hit the double. Nice to see something, though. Also, not enough room to put a DIS in front of it. I think we're definitely going flu here, unless I have something good in locations like that. Yeah, at this point, just going to see what else we can do. This is still a problem. I can't do anything here. But if I can actually get the Z down somewhere interesting, you know, even just like that would be 28, but it gets rid of a lot of the troublesome stuff at the risk of opening up that I for a big consonant bomb. Actually, this would be much better. Wins like that, if we want to avoid that problem. Pretty sure wins is good in terms of going with Wizen. I'm just still looking around for any other alternatives. But I like it. And of course we're going to draw the X. That's okay, I didn't know that, so... Yeah, still seeing what we can do. I mean, here I might honestly just go for play like that. Like 2 or new. Probably 2 in terms of... I'm thinking in terms of synergy with the X. And... yeah, I'm sure that that's almost certainly going to be what we want to do. There's stuff like Toxic, but of course the... C in that position isn't going to be what we want. So close to something like Oxytocin. Not that it would fit anywhere. But yeah, it's something like Toxin. No, keeping OOI, definitely not. But if we can do something, you know, it's so close to something like non-toxic, but that would also not fit. I think we're definitely just going to go 2 or new. Looking at the pool here, lots of T's in the pool. I think we're going to make this decision based on the 2 N's and 5 T's in the pool, rather than based on lever synergy. I sometimes think I make too many decisions based on the pool distribution. And this is dioxane. doesn't go down anywhere, but if we can get it down, that's going to be spectacular. Let's remember to put up the notepad, by the way. So I'm looking at dioxane. I don't see a place for it to go, but if it does go down, that's going to be spectacular. Failing that, we will probably just go with something like do or ru. Do is going to be 40. Vowel heavy leave, but that's fine. But yeah, obviously, if we have a place for dioxane, that's going to be ideal. Looking at this, but I don't think I have anything here. Let me just think about that. Because it's just... yeah, there's Yerk. There's YERK, but I don't think there's anything else that will go, so... okay, so we might not have dioxane, but do we have something that will go through R or G? Like, there is Exordia. Can something be Exordian? I'm behind. I feel like I don't want to try anything too reckless when it comes to guessing at stuff like that. Also looking at ING as usual. I think we just probably go for the safe play. If I were way ahead or something, I would be very strongly tempted to try Exordian, but given the probability, I feel like I must have seen that at some point. But Professor Shikashi, thank you for the follow. Yeah, so I don't see a place for dioxane. Given that I don't, we'll just go here. Way too vowel heavy. So we'll see what I can do to play out of this. Yeah, the nice thing about the C too is that it defends the X completely. But yeah, next turn I will want to do some kind of massive vowel dump, or possibly even an exchange. If I do an exchange, it will likely be keeping E in. Although, look at a ton of E's in the pool as well. I think there's a very good chance of duplication. Right now, when you look at the vowel counts, it is a very E-heavy bag. We've seen very few of them come out so far. So, might even just... I'd want to unduplicate vowels, otherwise I'd just go for some kind of dump. So yeah, we'll have to see what comes down first, I think, before we can make a good decision. Port's over there. I think we exchange. Like I said, a very strong possibility that we'll have a duplication onto E. But I think we'll do exchange 5 vowels anyway. I'm not far behind right now, so I want to get into a playable position. The other thing I could do is just something that's like Raya. That's not bad, except for this opening. So, for example, instead we do Raya down here or Aria. Aria might open up a spot for something like a V up top for some additional plays, so it doesn't close off quite as hard. Either way, it's going to open the lane on the left, so... okay, still looking at both the R and the T, the R and the G rather, up top in terms of what we can get. The TION ending is always something to look at. So do we have something here? Do we have something here? Do we also have any 7s? I don't think we do. I feel like this rack, the 7 would have presented itself pretty quickly. But if there were some things like an antidote, for instance, that we could play through, that would have been great. I don't really see what this will be, though. So close to something like gestation. Okay, in that case... Interestingly enough, some place like this can actually go down. Despite keeping the double T, I don't mind that too much, in fact. We do lose the N for the NG combination, but... I'm just looking at that and thinking about whether we can do any other adjustments to that to make that a better play. But yeah, scoring that much with these tiles, I think I'll do it. Also, I was looking at this spot here, like the D still fits in this location here, as you can see, so... That would block off the left side, of course, but eventually if we... Well, I mean, we have a D right now. I can do plays like a Daft, for instance, if that's available next turn. Because right now we are in a lot of T trouble. And it would be something that we could dig out of with small plays, but I'd much rather score. And something like that would actually be good because we're not really in a bingo position, and that would shut off lanes like crazy. It would turn that off. Daft being an adjective would take the S. I like that very much as a first choice. Especially because nothing additional is going to open up here just yet. Okay, now we have the S. Look at the IST ending. Look at the AL ending. Why do I think sagittal is good? Like I was looking at something like Sagittarius. Does that look familiar? I don't know. It doesn't fit anymore anyway, so that's a totally academic question. But definitely something I was considering. Yeah, I mean, we should get rid of duplications. That's going to be the point of the next turn. And the other thing I could do is start thinking about opening up locations for the S, because right now, by design, I've closed off potential S lanes. But we're fairly even right now. Also, notice that ILEX is available up here, if we want to extend that. In fact, looking at how we're doing, that is likely to be my first choice play. Unless, of course, we get something decent down here. So do we have anything to go through that, or that? Yeah, I don't want to burn my S, otherwise I would seriously consider, you know, doing something like that. Because it would still not open up and it would score. But if we're just going to score, I'd rather just dump ILEX up here and keep the S. I'm just taking a look at this to see if there's anything that's going to go through the E, because that's currently the thing that is likely to be most bingo friendly. Yeah, let's see. I think we just go Ilex and worry about that next turn. Okay, so now we have the second S. This would go through an I, of course. Let's see what we can do. I don't remember the options tab. What is the options tab? Okay, no, it's so people don't accidentally click resign. I see. That used to be just a resign button. I think maybe they wanted to make that less accidentally useful. Satiate is going to go through the I. That's going to be to play unless... No, it doesn't fit. See? Look at this thing here. That's fine. This is the obvious play. And now we have a pretty good rack to play with. I'm just thinking about where it could possibly go, though. Still looking at the G up here. In case it will give me anything. Still looking at the I, because the hairiest is going to fit. Yeah, that's going to be a play. I really don't see anything better. Although I didn't look at the S here close enough, I should have looked at that first. Because... No, I don't think there was anything, but I probably should have looked at the S on the triple lane first. In general. Because what was that? Yeah. Probably did miss something. But that's okay. Harriest is a perfectly fine play. I mean, the lane's open still over here. I'm not too concerned. So yeah, look at this. This corner has been closed off the whole time. Like nothing's coming down here. TP, yeah, that's gotta be right. That's a spelling of TP. I see no reason to doubt that. I feel like this is also close to some kind of clunky looking 7. But rather than dither over that, what are the risks that we can lose to at this point? The heaviest tile remaining is the V, which doesn't really make parallels. The second heaviest tile in the pool is the M, which would potentially take spots like that. Also, there is the ING ending that is still available up here. We need to be aware of that. It's possible for this to be a lane, but I think ING might actually be a bigger risk right now. Yeah, let's see here. Currently sort of looking at this spot here too, in case there's something that could fit. Like with an NE or LE ending or something like that. Don't think we have anything. 3 tiles in a bag. Gotta be careful here. But I think the idea will be to maybe close off this hop there. I mean, also, there is an ING that's in the pool, so, you know, we're not really necessarily home free, even if we close off that G. I think maybe this lane is the bigger risk. So, kind of a hard call here, I think. But if we do something like... I mean, we'd have to close off properly. That's not going to do it. Although, the only thing that goes over NE is going to be A, so that does kind of close, I think. Or Muon, like that. I like that, actually. Empty is the bag. We pick up 3. We can't really deal with both lanes, but this will allow me to take the A and stretch it out. And it reserves that spot for myself. We can't do anything about an ING up here, but we can't do anything about that in the bag either, so we'll take this instead. Okay, I should be safe looking at what we have. I think we're going to be safe. Gull is... Oh, okay, we're going to draw a challenge for that. Yeah, Muon we just know from particle physics, of course. This will be fine, I think, because we have the only tile that will go in front of the G, and nothing will go in front of LA. You can always just drop a D in front of that, but that won't do anything for you. Let me be absolutely sure. He wouldn't have challenged, I think, if he did see something. But... yeah, too many constants to do something here, I think. And this spot is all mine. Which is good, because we have AG, we've got multiple spots for it, we should have an out and 2. I think that's definitely to play. And yeah, we'll be able to close this out. Likely with AG, unless we have, let's see, 9 points there. Yeah, that's a little better. 9 points. So yeah, this might be a very rare 3-win day against this group. I do not manage that very often against this club. But yeah, as expected, just a D there, and we're just going to take the win. And then we'll see what phonies actually made it on at the end of all this. I think it's pretty clear, though. All words are valid. We're going to take the win. And yeah, we'll take a look at this just to see what kind of spectacular plays we missed. But I think that was mostly straightforward, and the trick to that was just being able to find some ways to score with the one-pointer racks that we were sitting with in the mid-game when everything was shut up pretty tight. I think that was pretty much the key to this, just being able to find stuff like this and this, and just being able to carry that forward. So thank you for the GG. Let's take a look. definitely some racks in there where I thought I might be missing stuff. Yeah, here a couple of different positions work, but I like the way I was considering it at the start with the middle position. Because you don't have this kind of stuff going on, and if one hotspot gets taken, the theory was that I would be able to take the other one, which didn't happen right away, but I think with the C in the middle, that actually works. I don't know. That's a nuance to openings that I don't necessarily have that much experience with. And as you can see, you know, you're not going to have too much to work with here. And yeah, just going to take that. He couldn't have known I kept B, of course, or was drawing into B, I should say. It was very fortunate for me that I managed to see that. Auk would have given a very nice leave, though, in terms of just being able to get rid of the U. You can see how much better it's doing despite being 7 points down in points is actually going to more than make up for that. Now, because here, yeah, CINSU is being evaluated as about a +8. This is about a +18, just from the vowel difference. I believe the vowel diameter does take an S, but let's check. Yeah, about the equity difference of the exchange. Yeah, that's very true. I know that maybe I don't consider exchange on the first turn when I'm going first as much as I should. So yeah, this does not take an S, actually. I think I knew that, which was why I felt comfortable doing it. Because there's also Acidia, and so on. But yeah, going back to the first turn, it's true that the equity difference is very minimal. Everything here is in a pretty narrow band, though. Like, nothing here is going to do too well. But I was quite fortunate here in terms of just drawing 5 consonants into a vowel-heavy rack. That's not always going to happen. The case against Brown, of course, was just I didn't want to open up the right side lane. I also just wanted to leave the end spot for myself. Yeah, as we identified earlier, my opponent just misses the end spot there. I mean, maybe it's deliberate if you are really paranoid about stuff like that, but I think in most cases, like the C isn't going to be a tile you worry too much about in that spot. I like some of these alternatives, though. Cousins, cushions, suctions. Anyway, the key to it is that my opponent does have something. And yeah, interestingly enough, I think I do draw an F into this turn. Because usually the I is not actually too bad to dangle in front, except against the F. The I is not nearly as good in that position as you would think, from how vowels usually work. Look at this, subsonic. Subsonic, issuance, incuses. I don't think I know incuses. Oh, incuses. Incuses. You incuse something to mark it by stamping it. That's what it is. Anyway, I saw flu here. I was pretty happy with that play. That's not an awful play, despite appearances. Inflow would have gotten rid of F and W at once, but you can see the U imposes quite a penalty. But yeah, I was very happy to see this. It does open up here, but surprisingly that was just never taken. Lots of choices here. Jerry, pre-buy, Perry. What ends up happening is keeping JQ. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I mean, you know, seeing the Y here may be a bit difficult, but Especially because on a consonant-heavy rack, I guess you're not necessarily looking to play through other consonants. You'd be looking to play through vowels, and maybe it's very easy to just have tunnel vision for spots like that and miss them. But yeah, there are some fairly clear options here. But having JQ like this is a pretty difficult situation to work with. But yeah, you can tell that with the YER here, that's actually well into negatives. It does lock up the top right, or rather the bottom right for quite a long time though, so. Anyway, wins I thought was fairly clear, but let's see what I missed. Yeah, actually, I can see the case for some stuff like that. Did see Zinco up there. Would have been interesting. Yeah, I guess it's a bit of a vowel-heavy leave, and that's where the penalty would be coming from. But at that point, yeah. I think leave-wise, this does something very similar while keeping something a bit better to work with, but right now it's really not a bingo board. Just, like I was saying, I think the K is the only hook here. Let me check that. Yeah, Yerd in Collins and Yerk. And so unless you draw an S for this lane, that's not going to be the best board to work with. Either way, with this or wins up here, you deal with some counterplay on the W. The same kind of counterplay, in fact. So if I were looking at a leave more carefully, I should have considered that. This was just a case where I saw Wizen first and just made a small adjustment instead of looking a bit more carefully at other options on the board. I really did want to get rid of the W, though, so. Banjo. Yeah, still keeping JQ. You can see what a problem it is and what a burden it is on the rack. If you look at the equity values and just see what a gigantic penalty it is to be keeping that stuff. But as you can see, you know, Q doesn't really have options here. Interestingly, though, my opponent is ahead at this point. I wonder if QI is actually something sensible. Like, you keep too much stuff out of that, but it really does limit the board in a way. And probably not, though. I think Banjo and other plays that at least turn over some tiles and try to draw into more vowels. And moreover, spend one of the J or the Q are probably better here. Okay, Oxo, Tune. I was considering Tune, but yeah, it's going to be about equivalent. I think I was okay with keeping the N. Yeah, at this point, you know, this is digging into a situation where exchanges are looking better and better. I think we're having a situation here where my opponent is definitely overvaluing keeping the J or the Q for a big play when in these closed situations, sometimes you really do just need to get rid of them and score modestly just to get them off the rack, I think. And there are some options, of course, but as you can see, the rack is just so heavily burdened. Anyway, no spot for dioxane, so we'll have do over here. I did not consider adieu. Adieu would have been a much less vowel-heavy leave and much better, I think. Although, I guess in terms of equity value, it's quite similar, which is mostly because of that 4-point addition. No, I'm pretty happy with this play, looking at this. Leave is about a +7. No leave is pretty much neutral. And this ends up going to my advantage later anyway. Yeah, at this point, you really do need to get rid of this stuff. Just keeping way too much. Look at this ad bot. I think we're on the internet enough that we know what this is. But I don't think I'd actually seen it in the Scrabble before. Ad bot. Yeah, we've got way too many of those all over Twitch. But yeah, at this point, you know, I definitely sense a great reluctance on my opponent's part to just lay off the Q for a 10-point play or something, or play off to J. Because look at this is just digging really deep into the hole. With a rack that's going to be a -20, So you can kind of see how, just from a rack management perspective, the lead gets turned over to me instead. So yeah, interestingly enough, these small plays are valued quite a bit better. Once is already available at points. Yeah, this was a hard turn because I was wondering what to do. I'd forgotten that Nori takes the A. I should have considered something like that. Look at that 5-point play and 10-point play being some of the better options. I would not have wanted to keep AAII, I think, even if I did spot this play on this turn. Aeonian, I was looking at something like that, but I would not have done that positionally. Yeah, I think some of these AEI leaves are probably right here. Yeah, Agio is a little bit risky. I think this was probably the right idea, actually. It was just extremely fortunate that it also ended up dangling stuff like the D spot. In fact, this does quite a lot to at least create the possibility of things opening up, even if it wound up going this way, rather than the conventional expected way. But this was a pretty hard turn, I think. Like, I don't really like many of these at all. This is not bad. But most of these plays are pretty ugly looking. Objet, that's a hard one to see. Good one to get down, but you can see the Q is just still a massive burden. This really would have locked things up. Apart from what I eventually do, of course. But of course the D is available for my opponent as well. Hard spot to see, and of course that's keeping JQ once again for way too much of a penalty. So yeah, as I suspected, this is clear and away the best play, actually. I mean, you have some other things that give you a decent leave, but really focusing on one lane at this point if you do that. Maybe 2 lanes. But given my situation here, I was happy to just score and keep pace, and so I'm happy with that decision. The Q is still going to hang around. That's just what's going to happen over there. And yeah, my opponent just doesn't see the D spot, but I think that's a tough one. I'm pretty happy with seeing that when I did. Once again, finding the highest equity play by a really long shot, actually, if you see that. That's +10 over the next best play. So, like I said, I was intuitively just really happy with finding stuff like this. And yeah, I have to run. No worries. I'm probably running off fairly soon myself. I don't think I can stay long enough to stretch all the way to the rapid tournament later on, so glad you enjoyed the games. A pretty quiet day here on the stream, but that's okay. We'll have those from time to time. Rat tails, striatal, yeah, we just didn't see any of that stuff. Should have considered something like rat tails, but with that double T and double A, that's hard stuff to see, so. These were just misses. As you can see, I was considering a Tatis here earlier, and that's not unreasonable, but you can see there's a huge drop-off in equity from one to the next, so Ilex I was happy with, considering that we just missed this. The striatal rat tail set. Yeah, I didn't really even consider the R properly, despite jotting down the alphagram. Okay, that's pretty much going to be it. For that, Quiver, yeah, that's clearly to play. Even with burning the blank, you definitely just want to spend a Q reasonably at some point. Easily best. No, that's also easily best. And oh, the quivery back hook, I'd never considered that. That's a fun one. Yeah, pretty risky, of course. But if you can see the quivery hook, that's really quite nice to work with. Thesauri and Harrius. Okay, I wasn't looking at a Thesauri position here. I think I didn't want to go parallel there anyway, though. I mean, I guess that's safer against any continuation down this lane, but it's actually quite a bit worse up here. Very fancy word, though. Hard one to see. Yeah, and at this point, this hotspot isn't worth too much. Given the remaining pool, you only really have 3 pointers that are going to wind up there. So, still a bit of a bingo risk in terms of how my opponent can counter, but I think this made it worse in some ways. Maybe. No, not really. It's just going to be one lane either way, but this is an easier lane to work with if you go Thesauri up there. I think the Thesauri is sometimes, with a parallel like this, it's the kind of play that you sometimes take for style points, of course. Yeah, just going to stretch out there with TP. Yeah, still not looking at some of the ways to fill out the quiver. TP is going to be pretty reasonable. It's going to be the highest equity play. There's Gloam up here. Again, I was playing a bit paranoid. Not knowing if this would be available. I felt like I did need to close off one lane. But Gloam, 35 points though, that would put me ahead, but within bingo range when you consider that I'm emptying the bag. So I think, rationally looking at the pool here, I probably wanted to close. I didn't look very carefully to see what sevens were available in the pool. But I did know that I didn't really want to find out. But yeah, that's a good question. Like, what sevens or eights going to the G are actually in the pool currently, looking at the unseen tiles. You know, something like melting, for instance. Like, melting would be an example of something I'd be looking out for. That would go here, but not here. So yeah, Vide. Oh, okay, that's the turn where I just draw a challenge. I mean, at this point I do seal the win, so that's perfectly fine by me. And that's going to be the big finish, so that's going to be a 3-win day. And pretty rare occurrence, but I'm glad we managed to make it happen. So yeah, short stream today. That's really all we'll be looking at. The main regret is just missing that 158-point bravoing in the first game, but we were already so far ahead at that point that would have just been insult to injury. And it's just going to be a fairly short stream. Man, you came in right at the end. We just finished up. I won every game today and hardly anybody was here to see it. That's... Yeah, there was another event scheduled that's coming in about an hour, a rapid tournament, but I don't think I'll stay long enough for that, so we'll probably call it at this point. And Mario Maker will be back tomorrow with some kind of Maker feature, and same schedule otherwise, and we'll be steadily setting up the schedule to start bringing in some small indie games starting next week, because I picked up a very large pile of indie games on sale, including some that can be done in 1 or 2 sittings. And so I'm hoping to spend July just going through a whole pile of them at once. But in the meantime, it's just going to be back to Mario. And yeah, pretty good day here. Fairly lucky, though. So that's pretty much going to be it from me. And so just going to cut this off pretty quickly. So thanks for watching, even if you came in just at the very finish. And until we're back again for more, we'll bid you a good night, or possibly even a good morning. And fare thee well.